The rest of our time goes to an amazing lady, radio personality who has over 5 million weekly followers, a lady who understands business, which means once you understand business, this industry becomes much easier because it's a business. She works in an executive position with $1 billion corporation, so she knows business on some pretty high levels. Her production company is Lady J Productions, or Entertainment. Lady J Entertainment. What else can I tell you about her? Actress.
I have a great PR guy.
He has a great PR guy.
Wonder who he is.
I don't know.
Rock?
He's lovely. He's
But
wonderful.
can he
He's
dance?
So with no further ado, she has a lot to share with you. And I think you'll be impressed with not only what she tells you, but the person who's doing the telling, Judy Karman.
First of all, I want to thank you, Rock, for inviting me to be a speaker today. And I actually was thinking about what do I want to say to all of you. And I just want to say I'm like all of you in my journey. I've always had a passion for the industry, and I just decided I'm done, I'm doing this, I'm going forward. Growing up, I was very, very fortunate, and I learned a lot from my father. One of the things I learned was networking, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. Networking isn't just about a project, it's about building relationships. And when you build a relationship with somebody, you don't know who else they know. Maybe at the moment, there's nothing going on that might fit what you need at the moment, but they know other people. But here's the thing. People have to learn to trust you and like you. And that's a huge thing in this industry, but it takes time. It's not, networking isn't like you meet somebody and then 2 seconds later they make a decision. That's not how it works. But before you even do that, you have to take in yourself. Who are you? And you have to understand who you are. I was telling Rock during a meeting that him and I had, he is obviously my PR person, and I will tell you, do any of you have like agents or managers or anybody this way? One of the things is you got to talk to your team. Make sure your team is on the same page with you and that you can talk to them. I would not want somebody just deciding what I'm going to do, because I want it to be teamwork, and you want them to work together. So I do have meetings with Rock, and some of it is I do update him on things, and we're talking about Facebook. One of the things with Facebook is I actually lock down all my contacts because I have different level contacts out there. And that's very important to me, so I don't want people just fishing there. The other thing I just want to mention real quick about Facebook for you is when you're posting on Facebook, okay, we all have our bad days, believe me, okay, but find that nice friend that you can just send a message to and say, I'm having a bad day, and they can, talk to you. Because I have a lot of people that I see do the same thing where they're giving this whole thing and I know something's going on with their life, but that's kind of negative. And here's the thing, nobody wants to know when you're going on a set or you're going to an audition that you might be like that, because then you become unreliable. And one of the first things I learned when I moved here to LA is I was kind of astounded by it, because I grew up with a work ethic. You're only as good as your word, you show up on time, you're responsible, you're prepared. Well, guess what? That's what I do in my job every day. So I was kind of, that people were so amazed at it. The first time I met Rock Riddle, his remark to me when I walked through that door is, you're early. Okay, is this all it takes? There's certain things that you do. I mean, it's really funny. It's funny. And you also, we talk about your persona. I don't care what's going on with your life. When you're out there, remember something. You're a product, okay? I don't want to say that in a disrespectful way, but you are a product. You are going to make other people money. Sure, you're going to make money along the way, but you are a product. And so when you're looking around, and I use this example because it's funny, and I'm a person that takes analogies, because analogies mean a lot to me because it's funny, and a lot of times when I used to do training, I've done training for years, I say analogies and people laugh, but they remember them, so that's all that counts to me. But this town is full of a lot of people and a lot of competition, but here's the deal. I remove myself from the competition because I'm not competing with anybody but me. And obviously anybody in this room I have no competition with, because even for roles, I mean, I'm not talking to men unless you're going to dress up as a woman, but I can tell you right now that I would not be cast for a role that you would be cast for, most likely, okay? And same with you. There's different looks, there's different things, but you have got to put yourself where you see yourself, and you've got to actually see that. And when you're out there, like we're talking personalities, you've got to show that personality, whether you're on the red carpet. When you step forward, you better step out your door and you better have, you know, that going on for you. Because I will tell you, there has been a few things that I have gone to in this town, and I look around the room and I feel like I'm ahead of the game because everyone's just standing there. And I think there's no personality. In fact, I was at an event last week with Sherry Robb, and Bill Blair was there. And for those of you who don't know who Bill Blair is, he is in the Book of World Record as basically playing an alien more than any actor. And he's done a lot of work. He's what I call a working actor, which for me, that's what I want to be, a working actor. I'm not looking necessarily for the you know, the A-lister star. I want to be a working actor. But it was so funny. I was in there, I had people, we're talking, he walks up, he hits me on the back of the shoulder, he goes, "You're having too much fun here." Well, here's the deal. When you're in a room, you do not know who's watching you. You may think you don't even know, but there could be that person that's sitting in the back of the room that's looking at you, and they're watching you. And the other thing about energy when you're in a room, network, walk around the room. Yes, you can spend some time with people, but don't stand there with all your actor friends, okay? Because nobody's gonna approach you. And if you see somebody, go up and approach them. You know, shake their hand, look them in the eye. That is a big thing. And that's in any business. I don't care if it's, you know, this industry business or you're in a corporation. That is a huge, huge deal to look people in the eye, because that's a confidence thing. And you want to show that there's just something about you that they're like intrigued with, and they're going to remember you, because that's what you want to do when you're actually networking. I coined this phrase for a friend of mine because I try to help people too, but one of the things, and I call it own your own red carpet, folks. Okay, you've got to visualize and see yourself wherever you want to go, okay? So when you put your feet on that red carpet, you know, you better be like, I'm home. This is where I belong. And that's going to show, and not in an arrogant way, not in an arrogant like I'm better than everybody else here, but you want to shine, because that's your moment to really shine, and people are watching you at that point. One of the things I know you didn't bring up, but I'm just going to step on your toes just a little bit here. When you start going to red carpets, there's a whole lot of red carpets, okay? And there's levels of red carpets, okay? The goal is to get to the red carpets where they have photographers that do the international scene. So when you get photographed, that's something that can go international. And there's a lot of work on the international side. A lot of the big companies, there's things that are going on international. So as you move up, it also could mean who those photographers are. Once again, you're just opening up your horizon. So for heaven's sakes, you know, it's one thing to have it here, but it's one thing to have something go international, which could either make or break you at that point. And so that's one of the things. And to make yourself stand out in the crowd, like I said, when you're out there, you have to be out there networking. Outside of events that Rock has, that I go to, I also actually belong to an organization called the World Networks. Not everybody in it is in the industry, but they all have some attachment to businesses. Well, guess what? That is some place that I go and I never know who I'm going to meet and who's going to know who. And for me, it's a networking opportunity. In fact, in another week or so, I'm actually doing a testimonial for them that's going to be put on their website. Guess what? That's just exposure for me. And one of the things when you talk about who you want to be and what perception and how you want people to see you, you know, people who make the decision to go negative or to go what I call the shock, that works for X amount of people. The problem is the normal person that goes there, it's very hard to come back the other way. Okay, we're not always going to be Miley Cyrus, okay, and that worked for her, but that's not probably the norm. But the one thing you want to remember, whatever you put out there, it's really hard to go the other way, okay? So you want people to see whatever you're comfortable with, okay? That's the thing. You have to live with it. And yes, there is a perception. And when you're out there, you know, do you want everybody to know everything about you? I personally don't. I have nothing that you're going to find on me, but I'm not going to sit there and tell you my whole life story. But I do want it showing, you want people to look at you and go, wow, they really look like they have a tiger by the tail. You know, you may not, but you know, you're showing potential to people. And people get to know you. And I know, in fact, I'm on a LA Talk Radio on Friday nights. It's called Cameron's Sports and Life. And we do have a lot of followers where basically it is worldwide. And I've gotten some really good write-ups. So guess what? I'm using that to my benefit because people are getting to know me. And every week I am introduced as actress Judy Karman, and we start talking about things and what's going on, any projects that I'm working on. I've met a lot of people. In fact, Tim and I, wake up, are going to are going to be working on a project together. And these are things that you want to do. What can you do for yourself? But the biggest thing you can do for yourself, who are you? And what image do you want to project out there? And when you do, you want all your wonderful energy going out there. Because the one thing I do see out there is people are going places trying to figure out who they need to be in that particular environment, whatever the networking is. Don't do that. Be yourself, because that's what's going to move you along. Because number one, you're going to be consistent. And you don't have to worry about it because you're just going to be you. But you want to be you want to be approachable, you want to be friendly. Everybody has their own way. I've met some people that, they're acting like, you're privileged to talk to me. Get over yourself. That's not really what you should be. Also, as far as media is concerned, you have to be very careful what you say to the media. But you don't want to come off as, I don't want to talk to you. You don't want to come off as, this is my opinion, I don't want to come off as mean to the media. And believe me, my host on LA Talk Radio is a broadcaster. He does a lot of interviews with A-lister people, and I hear all these things about who doesn't want interviews, who's not very nice. And let me tell you something, there may be some A-listers, but you don't always stay A-listers forever. So if that's, and to me, you have to remember something. These people keep you where you are. To me, when someone stops asking for interviews or people don't approach me, you buy into that. That is part of your job here. So to me, it's like if somebody comes up and wants to talk to me, of course. These are the people that keep me employed. That's the way I look at it. Think of a company. You have customers. Are you going to be rude to your customers? No, because they're going to keep your company going. You are your CEO, whether you have a real company or not. You have to think of yourself. You are CEO of your own company, and you are also responsible for what you do. Those of you who have agents and managers, 10%, 15%, guess what? That's 10%, which means they're not going to do 90% of the work. They'll steer you, but you still need to have things. Do any of you have business cards? Those are critical. I know I went against my agent on this, but this is my thing. I have 2 sets of business cards. I have ones with my agent's information and Rock's information on it only. Then I have another card with the same information, but I also have my personal information, because there may be some people I just really, they want to get a hold of me, they'll go through my reps. Some people I may want to get a hold of me, but guess what? Someone gets a hold of me and I have a deal going, I'm going to drop it over to the agent side. I mean, I just drop something in their lap and they have to go ahead and do their thing, and they didn't have to do anything, but they're still going to get paid, and that's fine, including my PR. And I do mention that. But these are things that you have to decide, but you have to put yourself out there, and it's a full-time job. I do work right now a full-time job. I have long hours. I work my job during the day, and then there's my other life behind that right now. And it is long hours. But guess what, people? You're on sets. You're not on sets for 8 hours a day. Okay, it's more like 16 hours a day, depending what you're doing at that point. So you need to think about who you are and how you can be the best you, not the best actor, or who do I need to be, or my persona, or try to act like somebody that you're, that like another actor or actress type of thing. You need to be you, but you need to be the best you can be, because that's what they're going to hire. Because they do want people that look, real and natural. And I mean, I think as much as interesting as reality shows can be, they did bring that back yet. It was the fact that, okay, they want people to act natural, but when you're in a room, I will tell you, you start bringing yourself out, you will be in that 90% range. Because I know it is funny, I have taken a lot of my business background and moved it into this. I don't care what business you've ever worked in, even if you worked at a Subway. If you happen to be someone that all these customers come in to see and they want to buy their sandwich because they know you're there, why is that? Why is it? Or why does a waitress have somebody that has regular customers that come in and want to sit in their section and see that they've got something going? It isn't necessarily the restaurant. It's that waitress, bring something forward. Well, that's what you're doing. So you need to take whatever it is and whatever you do in the passion for this industry. And I will tell you, make sure you have the passion. Because if you don't have the passion, you probably need to look for another job. Because it's a tough place to be, but you've got to keep that passion to get you driven. The other thing that I've learned is, and you kind of brought this up, I don't justify anything. If someone wants my opinion, they're going to get it. I don't feel the need to justify anything about anything that I say. You're speaking to him about someone felt the need that you needed to say something further to them. One of the things with your friends, some of you, I know I do, I've had friends for years. Well, guess what? when I did this, I have a few that are like really my champions, and I have other people that either would knock me for it or say, what the heck are you doing? You know something? They need to go kind of bye-bye. Not that I have anything against it, but here's how I look at it in a very positive way. I don't hate anybody, but I realize that some people just cannot go on my next journey. And most people that don't understand something are going to knock it or make remarks or whatever because it's scary to them. Anything that scares a human, they're going to come back negatively.
Right.
Okay, and I found that to be with a lot of people because they just can't understand what you're doing. No, I can't explain this industry. It's not A equals B equals C, because all of a sudden F may come out of somewhere and D over here and it works, but don't explain how I got there. But I did get there, and I even have people now that have said to me, how did you do this? How did you get this? How did you get that? Well, let me just tell you something. I didn't limit myself. If you want to know how I got my radio show, that was even funnier. I got referred to this radio show. It was just for me to get on the radio and just, introduce me being an actress or whatever. And the host said, would you be interested in maybe once in a while co-hosting? Sure, no problem. But what I did know when I was on the radio was that they couldn't see me. So I had to really bring out my personality, okay? And I had to work with the host. And the host is really kind of goofy crazy, but that's the format of the show on a Friday night, end of the week for people. We're just crazy nut people, but I do a lot of improv with him. So, and then it started like once a month for the first couple months, and after that I just became a regular on there. And it's worked out very well. We're now on also, iHeartRadio is also attached to us. So it is a big thing we're doing. We started to do some remote. We did San Gennaro here in Los Angeles. Next year we have already been invited to do San Gennaro in New York. So they're gonna pay us to go out to New York to broadcast in New York City next, I think it's in August of this year. But I don't limit myself to what you can do, and that's one thing you have to remember too, because to me, exposure is exposure as long as it's within my realm and is positive for me, because that's very, very important. I'm, like I said, talking to people, and Rock knows this. If I think something's happening, or I need to let Rock know something that may come up, or somebody around my personal life or something, I'm gonna let him know. I'm not advertising it, but I don't want him broadsided. Because if something comes up, he needs to be able to step in right away and not go, what the heck is going on here, Judy? And he's getting wind of it through something else. Because I have found that out through, through media people and so on, where something comes up. Now, I did have an interesting situation last week. I went to an event, and it was a political event. Now, political events, I do attend once in a while. Do I agree with everything? No. But I'm careful when I'm there, and there's certain things that happen. Well, this was for it was a going away kind of dinner for Lee Baca. And I will tell you, there's a mix on that one. There were a few other people there that I was talking to that, are known in this town. But that's okay, because I didn't come with that person. There is no scandal going on with anything that went on at that dinner, even though some people called me later and was asking me some questions about it. But you know something? But I was there on behalf of the World Networks, because the person that put it on is part of our network. And one of the things too with my World Networks is we have a networking group that gets together. And one of the things I know from my network, there are some people in the industry that I'm starting to connect with through that organization. Also, we have people that have different services and businesses. I have one guy that has exotic cars. Well, heck, if I'm going to do a photo shoot and I need a Bentley, I know where to go, because he's part of our network. So this is just for me, because I understand networking. Growing up, let me tell you something. Growing up in San Diego, my father, I thought everybody was like this. My father was a tailor, but my dad knew everybody in town. This little unassuming 5'5" little tailor out of like Fiddler on the Roof. And I thought growing up, gee, everybody knows who I am. Gee, this is how everybody grows up, and I grew up near Balboa Park, and I just thought the world was like that. And I used to think, wait a minute, we are like, we're middle class, maybe a little above middle class. We are not like these millionaire customers he has. But there was this respect for business. And then I learned later from him that that's what you do. You network because you're building relationships with people. And these were lifetime relationships. And the one thing he did teach me, it was about respect, and it was about, being a person of your word. And then he also taught me, because people used to come in and go, was that so-and-so in your shop? And that would be, yeah. Because he said, they have to put their pants on like I do, one leg at a time every morning. And so you have to remember that when you're dealing with people in the industry, because people want to be treated like they're real, okay? That even, I don't care who you are. And when you are networking, this is one little thing I want to give you guys a tip. When you're networking and you're talking to someone, have those moments where you're chit-chatting with them and giving them time. Do not run up when you know it's a producer and shove the card in their hand without even having a conversation. It's not funny, but there's an art to talking to people. Get them a feeling for you. They may or may not give you their card back, but if you feel, comfortable, like, I'd like to give you my card, but don't, because they get this all the time, okay? So there's a way of handling things when you're networking with people, depending where you're going. Another good place to go, which I know Rock mentions too, and a few others, go to film festivals. There's a lot of film festivals going up, especially if you feel like that's an area that could be in your favor. There's a big Italian film festival is coming up in March here, and there's one coming up next week also. That actually I'm attending the one next week, but I'm also going in as media, which once again, my radio show kind of helps my cause a little bit here because I get to cover media a little bit. So it gives me the opportunity to get a little closer to some other people that might be in town. But the biggest thing, like all of you have to do, is you have to visualize wherever it is that you want to be or what you want to do. And please, when you're talking to people, and somebody asks, what you do or whatever, don't say, I'm trying to become an actor. It's not the way to say it. I hear that all the time. How about, I'm a professional actor or actress or however, And I mean, because here, once again, your confidence is going to come off. Okay, and if you're saying that, that's a lack, it shows not the confidence. And even if you're not feeling confident at that moment, figure a way to bring confidence within yourself. Forget where you're at that moment, but what is going to bring your confidence out? I can't tell you what that is or what's going to radiate for you, but that is so important. And even like you brought up like Tony Tarantino, who's friends with me now, but the funny thing is, when somebody is up here and you're talking about who they look for in the audience, I know this is as a person that's in the industry. When somebody is up there, they're searching for that face that has that enthusiasm and something that they can work off of. Because when you're standing up here and everybody's just like, it's like, I should say, stand-up comedian that's just not getting any laughs that night. But it's very important that you want to connect to that person, and people may remember you. Another example, I have a producer friend of mine. He does a lot of like reality things and a few other things. Not normally what I would do, but he gets other things once in a while. Well, I want him to keep me in mind, or he knows me. And he knows my personality because he's been on the radio show. And he deals with unsealed alien files. And my friend Vince, but here's the deal. Somebody may come up with something and he's going to suggest me to another producer, or he'll get a film, or he'll get a feature, but he knows me, he knows my personality, he knows what I'm like. There's things that he gets to know me, because once again, you may meet somebody, but it's like dominoes, people. You don't know who they know. And to get to those next level of people, if you're not already in that level because you either aren't there, you don't have a name, or whatever the situation is, when you meet people and they start getting comfortable, they will introduce you into those groups as long as they feel confident enough to do it, because that's their reputation. I am not going to introduce somebody that will embarrass me or whatever in my own arena. And also, when you go with people, if you go with people to events, know who you're going with, okay? And I can say this for me, personally, being a woman, I don't bring somebody that is going to embarrass me. It just is not going to happen. Or things like that, because that's very important, because people are looking at you right now. Maybe later when you want to have that as a PR gig, go right ahead. But when you're starting out, you don't know who's there and you do not know who's looking at you. So just pretend everybody, this is how I go through life. Everybody's looking at me and there's always a camera. And then you know what? I don't have to worry about it. And that's how I look at life, because I know that's here, but that's, that's pretty much anywhere. But if you are consistent, you don't notice it after a while and you are really being you. But if you're always trying to reinvent yourself for a certain event, that's not going to work, because who are you? And it's going to show, because what's going to happen is you're going to drop that. You're not going to be able to do that. Now, as far as business is concerned, this is a business. They call it show business. I will tell you, it's probably 80% business, okay? 20% on the high side, whatever you're going to do. There are certain tools that you need in your toolbox, okay? Obviously, headshots, ones that look like you. You don't want to walk in and someone's like, do we have your headshot? I mean, it's not funny, but I've seen some that would just be like, wow, okay. And when you walk into a room, once again, the minute you walk through a door, people are already signaling in on you. So it's not like, even in it, whether it's an audition or you walk into an event, you're going to walk into an event and you want to walk in with the attitude, I belong here. it's my party and I'm a host. You're not, but you want to show that, because what will happen is people will gravitate to you. Word of wisdom on gravitation, okay? That's fine for a while, but then you kind of need to move a little away from them, and then kind of, because people aren't going to approach you. And sometimes people want to grab onto your energy and they'll suck the heck out of you. But you want to, maybe people look and try to figure out what it is that you have, but they have to figure it out on their own. People have asked me, how do you do this? I'm like, I can't really explain it because it's my personality, but I know how to make it work. I've been in business. I know the difference between walking into a business meeting that I'm just participating in versus someone that I am actually chairing that meeting. There's a whole, there's a different little persona. There's a different way I may dress. There's certain things that will happen at that point. So you have to recognize when you walk, the minute you get to wherever you're going, you're on. And you have to keep that up the whole night, because the minute you drop it will be the minute someone sees you. Or how many times have you been somewhere and people send you pictures and you didn't even realize you were snapped in somebody's picture? And it may have been a very bad moment, okay? And I've even seen this on the red carpet. And when you talk about that, it really floors me when people, like you're saying, people are smiling. I can look at people's pictures and say, you're going through the motions. Something else is going on with you. It's in your eyes, it's in your body language, how you approach people, what your attitude is. It all shows in a picture. And if after a while when you start looking at it, you can really tell, well, you want to be that person, especially now where there's something that somebody wants, like you want Ed to walk up and want to interview you because there's just something about you that looks like you just have something going on. And that's what you want. And like I said, you don't have to tell the world everything. Don't be a pot that turns upside down. But I don't really see a need to be totally rude to the media. They could make or break you. I mean, if TMZ is chasing you down the street, you might want to handle that a little differently. But it's how you handle. It's how you. I love. Not to be funny, guys. I know this is really funny. I think of these things, and you know why? Not because I necessarily want TMZ to run me down the street, but in my own way, I do my own practice world of what it's going to be like with different situations. And I'll tell you why. Because they may occur, and I want to have like a thought process with them. I left the house today, and I must have been prepared. I didn't know. I haven't worn these boots in a while. And I wear my boots. I went downstairs. The whole garage is flooded with water. There's something broken. It all went in the garage. I was laughing to myself saying, oh, well, I'm prepared. If I would have had like my pumps I was thinking of wearing, I couldn't, but I'm saying, I think of all these different things that I see with people. I watch and study. I study actors. I study scenarios. Because I want to know if I'm in that position, how might I handle that, okay? One of the things too, and of course I go to movies and so on. One of the really good movies that I saw this year, and I really studied it to see what makes this happen and also the story behind it, Wolf on Wall Street, if any of you have not seen that. Well, one of the interesting things about that, Jonah Hill, who is opposite of Leonardo DiCaprio, who probably should win an Oscar this year. But the one thing I will say with that movie, number one, you saw Leo when he's like talking to you, and you felt like there's this genuine, he's talking to you. He's not talking at you, but the way he handled the role. Well, Jonah Hill actually has been looking for work. And so when he was offered this role, he decided to take it. In my opinion, smart move, because you're going, you're with Leo over here, and you got Scorsese over here, who is an A-list director. Okay, he did that role for $60,000. I know the rest of us were like, yeah, $60,000. Believe me, when you've got DiCaprio over here making millions of dollars, 60 is like, here's a 5, buddy. But smart move. So once again, you have to look at what you're doing, who you're working with. I mean, to me, it's one thing to be opposite of an A-lister, but boy, if you get a director on the other side that's up there with it, I mean, you've got a nice little package deal going. But a lot of people in this town would have turned that down. 60,000, are you kidding me? Because you are, this is how much I made my last movie or whatever. But now that will probably propel him to get other work, where not everybody would have looked at that way. But that, to me, was a very smart move on as far as his career is concerned, because of what he went ahead and took that role. So back to the there's no small roles to small actors, because you never quite know what's going to happen. But you have to decide for yourself in your own conscience. Everybody has things they do, but you have to follow whatever that is for you. But being you is what's really going to count, and that those things will make you stand out. And I have found out, and obviously I've been with Rock, but I have like tested some stuff, and I feel every time I go somewhere, it's kind of not a new test, but I'm going to see how this works. I'm going somewhere and I'm going to see how this is working for me. And I've done things on a consistent basis where now I feel more confident, not more confident, but I'm like, this really works, and this is just me. And it's kind of refreshing. I'm not trying to be someone else. I'm not going in there trying to, you know, walk in like Angelina Jolie. I'm not doing any of those things. I am being me. But I've noticed that, and no matter what niche you're in, I am a little bit older. I'm probably 25 now. Anyway, but thank you. But what I'm saying is you have to know who you are, kind of what your niches are, you know, what people, you know, see you as. But I will tell you, people do talk. This is a small town. It seems like there's not a small town, but some stuff comes back to me like, really? Where'd you hear that? Because it is, and people do talk. So the people that you want talking about you, especially, I will tell you, and Rock will go with this, you could be up for something, and somebody calls a friend of theirs. Hey, I've got this person, do you know anything about him? Oh, let me tell you, there were so much problems on this last set, I went and touched him with a 10-foot pole. Thank you, ding. That's the other thing too. Don't, you know, be nice to work with, just like you would in any other job. You get, you know, my mother used to tell me, bees get more with honey than vinegar. Okay, but there's a lot of people that like do little things like don't show up on time. Time is money, people. And if you happen to be on a big budget movie, that could be thousands and thousands of dollars every single minute. Okay, and I even have a director friend of mine who knows Rock named Tom Logan. And Tom Logan's a writer, and he also does coaching for political figures. And one of the things is you could be on a set and it could be as like $18,000 a minute. So you're 5 minutes late, just guess what you did, okay? And also you want to act right on the set. And I don't know if all of you know this, but a director is responsible, just like a ship captain, what goes on. So if somebody's driving, you know, a vehicle and they get in an accident, Lindsay Lohan, that director is responsible, okay? No matter what happens, they're the ones that are going to get sued. They're the ones that are going to have to pick up the mess. They're responsible for everything. So, you know, you want a good reputation because when people want to work with you, they will be calling you up. And as Rock says, it is about talent, of course. It's about talent to some degree. But they don't care how talented somebody is. If they're going to cause problems, going to be late, cause the production to cost more money, going to be a pain to deal with, sorry, there's too many of you out there. So that's where the kind of arrogant thing comes into place, okay? But remember, in your mind, know who you are, know what works for you. You have friends, ask them. I mean, not to be funny. I mean, I have certain things that people say to me, and they're my friends. What makes you say that? Because I want to know. I have a sister who's I shouldn't say I'm not normal, but she's a school teacher. So I call her she calls me up every Saturday and tells me what she thought of the show. What worked, what didn't work. It could be the person on the show, what worked between myself or how I came up. Because she is the normal listener. So I want to hear that because that kind of gives me a gauge of what I can be doing or what I can be doing better or not doing or whatever's going on at that time, because that's important to me. So when people see things in me sometimes that I don't see, I'm like, what made you say that? Or what do you see? Because I want to gauge myself to enhance who I am. It's not trying to be someone I'm not or to be arrogant or better than anybody else. I want to be better than anybody else because I want to get hired. But that's because I am taking all of me. And I will tell you honestly, from my point of view, there's days I go home, guys, I shut that door and I go, I exhaust myself sometimes. But that's okay, because you have to remember, once you step out your door, no matter what you're doing, you don't know who you're gonna run into today. It could be at Starbucks, it could be anywhere, it could be at Gelson's, it could be anywhere that you go. But you have to remember, you are that product. So you have to be on your game at all times, no matter what you do. And like I said, you want to make connections. So you can't sit at home, no one's gonna call you. Your agent, you know, they're gonna submit you, but guess what? You know, you may get something because you met somebody and something came across someone's desk and you don't even know the connection at that point. But it's very important to be out there networking and finding things to go to. I mean, like I said, and I can honestly say, as having a PR, as funny as it is, people look at me and they go, you have PR? I'm like, I sure do. And they're like, oh, that's impressive. I mean, it's not funny because everything is perception. And like Ed said, you can build your persona. I have a persona, but I guarantee you, my persona is not totally so far off where you see this persona Judy and the next thing you find out is she's a felon who's been in jail for 20, I mean, there's nothing like that, okay? And I will tell you, I'm funny about that, but there's nothing out there. I've done everything. I have, there's nothing, nobody will ever come back on me, and there's no pictures out there that should be. And remember something about pictures. This is serious. I don't care, people, where you send your pictures, even if you do it on your phone. And you send pictures that, you may not want the rest of the world to see to somebody for whatever reason you're sending it. You just put that out there the same way if Ed snapped you on the red carpet, and it could come back to you later. So just remember, whatever you do today and whatever you're at, because people will make money on something later. They may not care about you at the moment, about something they have, but the minute they see you get on a tabloid or you're on a magazine or something, they're going to want to cash in on it because they know that magazine or tabloid is going to pay for that. So just remember, whatever you do, what that repercussion can be for yourself. And don't justify to anybody. I mean, other than, director giving you a different direction or something at that point, but something, however you feel, usually those people want justification because they're looking for somebody to either boost them up or another reason to knock you down. And it's such a waste of energy. And the same thing with the Facebook. Keep your Facebook where people want to watch what you're doing. For me, no, I don't tell you every time I go to Starbucks. Furthermore, personally for me, why do I want to tell you what I'm doing every day? Starbucks at 9, gym at 9:30, fine. Guess what, people? There are stalkers out there.
Right.
And I mean, I'm aware of it all. I'm not paranoid, but I'm not stupid either, okay? I used to travel a lot. I used to travel 70% all of this country, and most of the time by myself. Do you think I went into strange towns acting like I didn't belong there? Heck no. I was by myself. I wasn't going to do that. So you have to think of that too, or I love the people that show food. It's 5 months a while or something, but it's really kind of funny. But you still have to look at what you're doing and what you're projecting out there. And I've got it pretty much where, because I don't say I go to Starbucks, and because people look at things I'm doing, because I'm very diversified what I post out there. I post a few personal things, but my personal things, this is just my own self. My personal stuff doesn't come up very often, but when it does, it's pretty positive. And the reason I do it is there is another side to me. And when I was talking about having a personal life, I do have a well-rounded, thank God, because I will tell you, I've never taken drugs. I've never done that. I can't imagine it. To me, it'd be like girlfriend spa day. Let's go shopping before I blow that kind of money doing something else. It's like enjoying life, or for heaven's sakes, being involved in charities or doing something worthwhile if I feel I need something else in my life to do. But it wouldn't be the drugs, or like I said, this is any job. If anybody is in any job that makes them feel like they want to take drugs or kill themselves, it's kind of time to get out of the job. Whatever the heck you're doing that you really feel, or you have you have a management team that tells you you're all washed up, time to get a new management team, because there'll be other people out there and they want to invest. You got to get people that you can talk to that will invest in you and have an interest in you. And this goes for agents, managers, anybody that you have PR, anybody. It has to be, to me, how are you going to promote me if you really don't see nothing in me? Or you get the agents that just have their group of people and you're kind of over here. So I'm really cognizant about keeping up with them. What else are we looking at? What else do we need here? Or I'll call Rock up. We need to have a meeting because I need to figure out now I want to do this. Where do I need to go to get here? What do I need to do this? You have to be your own captain of your ship in your own career. And I don't care what you do in life. You have to be the one that decides what you want to do. But you have these people around you. You need to step up and go, okay, this is where I need to go. I know I need to move here. I know I need to do that. Well, if they've gotten to know you and they've gotten enough trust in you and what you're doing, they're willing to work with you because they know you're willing to do some of the work. You're not sitting home waiting for them to say, okay, arrive here at 9 o'clock and do this. Thank you. That's not what people want. I personally want people that want to be team players. I don't want someone just to sit around. Even when I was a manager in corporate world, people that wanted to work with me, I power people, and they're like, yeah, what can we do next? Those are the people I want to work with. Not the ones that sat there and waited for me to give them something else to do. Remember that you are responsible for your own lives. So you want to make sure you're getting out, that you're networking, know who's at your networking in places you go. Sometimes when you're invited, take a look who might be there, okay? And visualize who they might be, note it down. Take their little pictures, something. Because then when you walk up to them, I know when something you did the other day, I'm sure, then he walked up and said, are you Judy Karman? I'm thinking, yes, I am. And I'm thinking, okay, well then I realized, but still, you came up to me, and Rock had just said to me, hey, I can't make it. could you show some people around? Could you kind of be there? Sure. Then I realized he didn't tell me who. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna look around. There was a couple other people. You came up to me, a couple other people I just approached because I could see that they're trying to figure things out and I wasn't sure who they were, but I was gonna approach them anyway, but to help them get through that. And that's fine, and I don't mind doing that with people because we're all here to help each other, and honestly, everybody that you employ wants to help you too, but you got to help yourself. So remember, be the best person you can be, not anybody else, and bring your energy with you, because that's the one thing that will set you, and this sounds really funny to say that, but I'm getting to the point now, I'm like, wow, is this what's working? This energy is working for me? Okay, this is me anyway. But I mean, it's funny, and I even get write-ups on the radio, and I laugh because I'm thinking, wow, they're like making comments about me, and I'm using that, because that's another avenue for me now as a co-host. And it's great because my improv skills get to come out in those shows. But whatever you do, whatever you want to get involved with, you take classes, make sure you are involved in whatever you're doing, and that it totally works for you, because there's different things people do, obviously for like acting classes or whatever, and what they want to do, and ones that maybe have showcases. And the more things you put yourself out there, the more people are going to see you, and they keep seeing you, like Rock says, event after event after event. So remember to be the best person that you can be. And that's what's going to make you stand out, because most people are standing there. And one last thing, this is how I look at LA. Toys R Us, okay? This is guys and girls. I got great nieces and nephews. Go to Toys R Us. I'm looking at the doll section. There's 100 dolls. I'm looking for the one that's sticking out. What about her face? What about her? Something I want. What doll, right? Or I go to the section to buy trucks or GI Joes or whatever. I'm looking at these action figures. I'm like, I'm trying to find an action figure that sticks out to me. Well, guess what? It's the same thing in this town. But the one thing that something special or something just in the way that their energy is what's going to attract people. I mean, now I got the point I just write a check, go buy the kids whatever they want, because I can't handle going in there because I can't find what I want. Well, guess what? Got to remember, producers, directors, whatever in this town, it's the same thing. They see this every day, and after a while, it's kind of like our emails. We kind of get desensitized. You ever get an email and someone says something, and they're like, I'm sorry, I'm killing myself tomorrow. I'll get to that. I mean, I'm not being funny, but that's how we are. I pick up the phone and call people because I realize it's going to be more of an impact. But think about how many things you've passed, but that's the truth, because we are so desensitized. Well, guess what? So are a lot of people in this town. They don't mean to be, but they are. Well, then maybe you need to have that energy that suddenly they're going to go, whoa, wait a minute. This isn't the normal thing I'm used to seeing. And that's what you want to put across to move yourself forward.